much liking what they're seeing with Mr. Modi, but do you think that this is a short-lived honeymoon?
It could be if history is anything to go by. We saw similar rallies in the last general election back in 2009 when the Sensex really had a bit of a charge. It'll be short-lived, possibly, but in fairness, the currency has gone some way to helping them out. Where they've managed to stem the flow of Rupee power going out by some of their measures as far as imports on gold are concerned. So they'll be hopeful that the honeymoon period can last just a little bit longer than in previous years.
Okay, moving on slightly then, big drop in European and US stocks on Thursday. Do you think then that stocks are way ahead of themselves in terms of where we are here in the economic recovery?
Yeah, the last 48 hours have really taken the shine off the earlier performances in the week, where both the Dow and the S&P 500 hitting all-time highs. We are seeing both of those markets just beginning to flirt with that sort of 50-day moving average, decent-sized retracement in both of them. Be interesting to see how the trading activity goes today. There is a bit more of a question again, I think, being triggered by the fact that we've hit all-time highs about equity valuations and profit multiples and whether the two really tally up together. But equity markets still remaining quite a popular choice for home for cash, as it were.
Moving on to Ukraine then, still weighing there. The Slovak PM saying that Russia will actually stop supplying Europe with gas if, as of the 1st of June, if Ukraine doesn't pay its bills. How much of a worry is that?
Well, it is worrying, but I think when we look at the behind the headlines, as it were, we see that Gazprom's basically doubled the price that they're charging Ukraine for gas, and Ukraine's basically saying if you bring it back down to the previous prices, we'll meet our debt. So a bit of a standoff here. We've got a couple of weeks for it to be resolved. It does look like a bit more of grandstanding from a bit of Russian pressure as far as directed towards Ukraine, and obviously Ukraine trying to get financing out of the EU and Europe as well. So an interesting one, but there's a deadline a little bit further down the road yet.
Let's stick with energy then. E.ON facing a £12 million fine here in the UK for mis-selling. Do you think this has any currency implications?
Well, that would have played its part, I guess. This is not it's not the first energy supplier to go on the wrong side of the law, as it were. This is now the fifth of the big six to be fined, and the 12 million fine that E.ON are having to pay now means that there's about 39 million that energy suppliers have had to. So it's all about mis-selling and, quite frankly, oversight of their sales teams. A regular story we're hearing not just from energy suppliers, but quite frankly in all of the retail sales sides, the banks, for instance. So I think a shift in the way that regulators look at these things is probably in order.
Finally, sticking with equities, a quick look at Bovis, another UK developer doing incredibly well. Carney saying he won't raise rates for some time to come, but lots of calls for measures to dampen the housing market. Do you think then there's a big run-up in these kind of stocks and that they might be hit by these potential measures?
Well, considering the last set of figures that Bovis came out with were their full years, where they saw profits jump by 48%, it was always going to be difficult for them to keep the markets happy today. That being said, they have increased their production sites. They have said that they see sales and completions rising as well. And the fact that the Bank of England has so steadfastly stated that they don't want to be dragged in to cool down the housing market and regulate the housing market, if you will, is a boon for the home builders. It should maybe just give a little bit more life back to that market and hopefully see this sort of stagnation move on a little bit.